Hello, my name is Andrew and I am a ServiceNow developer. This is Jace. Hi, Jace.
Hello.
Today we are streaming about the Paris release. Now, before we start, I'd like to make a couple little disclaimers. One, it is 7:30 a.m. here and I am still very tired, so please forgive me any pauses, stutterings, that sort of thing. Two, we aren't employed by ServiceNow. We don't speak on behalf of ServiceNow. We are just customers that like ServiceNow. And we're going to talk about our opinions of stuff. So please don't, I don't know, make any purchasing decisions based on what we say. Unless what we say is awesome, then feel free, I guess. Yeah, so we've got a list of things that we want to talk about the Paris release and the things that have been exciting to us, the things that we've found in the documentation that we may not have heard other places. Yeah, Jace, do you want to say hello as well?
Yeah. I'm happy to be here. It's not 7 a.m. where I am. It's 4:30 p.m. But yeah, there's I love pouring over the release notes when they come out to see if I can find like any hidden things. And we found something in there, but we'll talk about that later around that help desk stuff.
Yes. All right. Well, you wanted to go first if you wanted to share your screen.
Yeah. So when we had posted this, I know we had asked some people what they would like to see
over on LinkedIn.
And
hashtag smash the connect button.
Yeah. Let me just press the right button to show the proper screen here. And one of the guys, John Dahl, was saying he's really excited for the workforce optimization for ITSM. And I'll be honest, I didn't even see it in release notes. I was glazed over it. It's not available for everybody, but there is a way to turn it on. I'll share that right afterwards. A way to turn it on to see it.
Secrets.
It's kind of neat. I'm going to walk through the screens though, but it has like a single workspace to manage teams for the ITSM suite of stuff. So let's dive in.
Sorry, Chuck's just asked if we could zoom in a little bit.
Oh yes, I would love to zoom in.
There we go.
Is this better to see, at least within ServiceNow? Or no, sorry, within YouTube or wherever it is we're streaming. All right. You want to see more code? Oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I don't know how much code we're getting into. Red. All right. So once you turn it on, it took about 20 minutes. You get this workspace called the Now Workspace Manager. And when I first loaded it, it gave me a bunch of errors like, you're not allowed to see this stuff. I added myself to some groups that were applied to it, and it started to work finally. But let's take a look and just kind of dive in. So it has like a list of my team's work, and it has these filters. It's using all the new Now CLI stuff. I don't have a lot of content in my instance. It's just a PDI.
Need some demo data.
But where this is really powerful, I think, is it's got all of these parts here that you can configure for all of the queues and channels.
So this is definitely advanced work assignment stuff. I've been playing a bit with the chat and calls incoming. 100%. Like when you showed me this, I was like, this is dashboards that I've built for my manager. Like this will replace that and this will be so much better.
Yeah, I haven't built any of these, and dashboards with performance analytics always kind of freak me out because performance analytics has been kind of difficult for me to understand. I put myself and Fred Letty in a group for database, so you can kind of see like the schedule, but I didn't make a rota. They don't call them that anymore though. They call them something else, but I think this shows like who's on call, I'm guessing.
I think shifts and stuff as well. It wouldn't surprise me if this integrated with the new workspace management stuff that they were doing for the safe workplace.
Oh yeah. Oh, and here's that width resizing that
yeah, that's cool.
That they talked about. And then I guess there's this expert. I'm just pressing buttons now because I haven't
The
looked at
best
all this
way to
stuff,
learn.
right? So it's kind of interesting. Like I said, I only got it to work because I put myself in a group.
Yep.
But you can make a group of key performance indicators and then add those specific performance analytics to that groups thing. So not all groups are measured against the same stuff.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, different teams, different KPIs.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
After I finish going over, like just kind of browsing, perusing these pages here, I'll go in through the pages that I set up where I added myself to the group. Oh, that filter is neat, actually. I kind of like that.
Yeah, so this is the coaching stuff. That's a fairly new app, I think, within the last couple of versions. But,
they've had a coach app out, but it's a new version.
Yeah, this is pretty great. Like, I know these are all things that service desk team leaders and service delivery managers and stuff are like, I want this and I want that and I want this. And you sit down, you have to make a dashboard or something like that. And this sort of just steps in and fills that role with everything that you could need, which, yeah.
I personally am really excited for these lists pages to exist for all the different spaces so that I can get people away from this filter menu.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I created a custom workspace for an app, it's fairly simple to put them together. But yeah, no, Workspaces, it's definitely where it's heading. Hey.
Yeah, it's looking good. So I'm just gonna walk through quickly where I added myself to the group so that people can see that stuff. Because when I loaded it up, I didn't see anything. I couldn't load the demo data because I had to do it through the script. So there was this KPI assignment groups, and I went in here and just said, go ahead and make a new one. And then this points to standard sysuser group, and I picked one. And then I made a KPI group record.
Yeah.
And that KPI group record had
So Chuck's just said that the Now Experience Condition Builder was rebuilt to be more Excel-like to help people transition, which makes a lot of sense when, the platform is marketed as the Excel replacement. I mean, it's an expensive Excel replacement, but it's a bit more than that as well.
Yeah, ServiceNow definitely has their top-notch stuff on those filters.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been aggregating news and trying to make a filter system, I can tell you it's not an easy problem to solve.
Jace.pro/news.
Anyways, yep. It looks like you can have different groups for different types of stuff, which is kind of neat. And then you can also say a group has many actual assignment groups, and you can say this group measures against these specific key performance indicators, which are, performance analytic stuff.
Yeah, no, that's
it's very
exciting.
Cool. Thanks, John, for that suggestion to look at this stuff. I thought this was pretty neat. I don't know when I'll use it, but I'm excited to see it used. The thing I'm really excited about, though, is the GraphQL stuff. I did a lot of digging, and after some real frustration that I had, MHC on Slack had told me, hey, there's this plugin called... So GraphQL is on and available. You can make, before I get into it, you can make a endpoint, a GraphQL API here. But as somebody who doesn't know GraphQL well, the only GraphQL I've messed with before this is the Gatsby.js GraphQL stuff. Gatsby.js is just a like static site generator based on React that uses GraphQL to generate pages.
Right. I've definitely heard of GraphQL. So, I mean,
I know what the word graph means.
Yep.
And I know what SQL means.
And so somewhere in there.
Right. So if you go to make a new GraphQL record, this is what you're presented with. You're presented with a name, a schema namespace, your application namespace, and the application scope here. And then schema, type, and type. And this means really very little to me.
Yeah.
I still don't quite understand all of it, but I nearly got to work, and I'll just kind of show where that stuff is. So it's clear exactly how this stuff works. I was hoping I could find like an existing GraphQL API out of the box that I could just inspect and like look at, like, oh, that's
Yeah.
how ServiceNow is calling this thing. And ServiceNow does have some endpoints, but they're not visible. And I
Secret
couldn't
squirrel
find
stuff.
ways to like see them stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like I was saying when I first got into it, there's a plugin called there's a plugin that's called like GraphQL Demo. I'm gonna find it real quick.
Oh, nice.
I'm surprised it wasn't noted in the stuff, but there is this GraphQL framework demo application, which I installed after MAG told me about it, which is fantastic. And that installs this application where you track people's holidays and schedule time off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just got a few tables in it. I'm not actually going to go through the structure of it because I wasn't able to get to work, but I will show where I got, and maybe that'll help somebody figure out what to do with it.
If you do get it to work, do you get more paid time off?
I mean, if you can get on my instance, you can have all the time off in my instance that you want.
Awesome.
So there's this user PTO calendar GraphQL API, and it's a little daunting, right? It's got this application namespace, which is important, the schema namespace, which is also important. And then it's got the query is just calls this query type here, and these are the things you can invoke within GraphQL, at least from a get that I could find.
Sure. So they're kind of like,
I'll include a link
typed, obviously.
Yeah, it's typed. So these, when you have a type thing, these are the inputs, or like the variables that you are expecting in. So if you were to make one of these and say like user input, and then you can call like some string. And like for this user PTO balance, you're expecting actually the variable called user ID, and then this ID exclamation point means that that value is required.
Right.
Where did it go? I had the window open. There it is. So there's this GraphQL application that Nathan first pointed me to, and you can edit HTTP headers and add basic auth, so you can try this out. So I had been trying a bunch of different things.
That might be a bit small as well. I don't know if you can.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I can zoom that one in. It might just have to be small.
Yeah.
Let me find the working example, because I was trying a bunch of broken examples, but right here. So you can see here that this is the query syntax you use in GraphQL. GraphQL is REST APIs that you just make posts on, and then you tell the GraphQL thing how you want it back. So once you get it getting stuff back, like you could break this down into different objects and return it in different ways. I don't know the specifics about that, but this expects the application namespace there. This expects the schema namespace. And then this expects the query type that you're calling. And then it expects these parameters inside of here. If I were to remove this, it'll tell you that you can't have this. It'll give me an error message. It says,
Yep.
Oh, I have bad syntax. So let me get rid of syntax. Right here. Still there. Oh, because I don't have I have to actually get rid of this stuff. Then here's going to say I'm missing a field, user ID.
Yeah.
Right? So it does tell you what's wrong with it, but it doesn't necessarily tell you much about it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of
as I could get it.
A lot of documentation reading, and then probably someone who's like, I know GraphQL, and sits down and translates the ServiceNow side of stuff. John Dales asked, can you have dynamic data queries without active code, and do you define the structure on the endpoint or on the query?
When I was messing with this before, like I said, from the client side, wherever you're making the REST calls, you can define how you want that data back.
Yeah. And
which is why GraphQL is huge.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and it stops you making like scripted REST APIs. You can sort of say, if I get this, then return that. If I get this, return that. But with GraphQL, you just say, return whatever the client wants, and that way you can update your client without updating the server and have more or less data come in and out, and all the mutations and stuff. You can sort of say, have really cool if I send this, then I only want these .walked fields back and all that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a rabbit hole. I'm not exactly sure how it's supposed to be set up because I'm not like an expert on this stuff, but I was able to get it to return no errors. So I felt like I was almost at success. And that's what you guys get today with GraphQL.
Yeah. If it wasn't 7:30 in the morning, I'd drink something for you.
I'll drink something right now.
Oh, yeah.
All right. The other thing, and I already wrote about it because I was so excited about it. There are some new things in Service Catalog. One of them is a variable called requested for.
Yeah, you demoed this to me, and it sounded boring, but it's actually the opposite. Hold
on. There it is. I picked on just a random existing item. I normally don't do that because then I know exactly what it is. So there's a new variable type called requested. And let's just look at the back end. I actually should have front end first. Let's show the front end first. Because that's way more fun. I'm going to caveat this with, this only works in Service Portal right now. Yeah, but if you're not in Service Portal, then I'm sorry. Like, we can't be friends. Right. I mean, so the requested for variable is like a reference variable. It looks just like it. It works just like it. I have mine with a reference qualifier. Name has to start with A because why not? Why it pre-fills with me, I'm not sure. I don't think I have that preset. That's a function of the variable type. I read that on the doc. So it automatically defaults to the person who's looking at it, which is something that I have made for every single reference requested for variable that I've ever put on a form. So that's awesome. That's a super helpful feature as well. So this isn't why this is great. What really makes this great is this button over here. The people. If you've ever made an item where people are like, I want to request the same item for 7 people, and I don't want to add a cart and check out, this is where it's at. So you pick them. It adds like a glide list like element. And if you order, and it'll actually create a new requested item for each individual. So they all follow their individual processes. And that's awesome. I did a little more looking after I talked to you about it. Okay. Because like one item submission into 4 items is sort of, it's awesome. Like, saves so much time. Right. It doesn't work on record reducers. The way that it looks like ServiceNow did it is they added a column on SC record for the requested for. So now there are 2 requested fors. If I pick on one of these where the requested for is, okay, I removed myself from that list the other day when I did this, showed somebody. So this wasn't on the form, but I added it so I could see it. This is the SC rec item requested for, and I don't remember this being there. I'm pretty sure this is net new. Yes, I'm pretty sure as well. With this release. So there is who requested it, and then there's the requested for. It doesn't just set that though. It also makes that requested for variable right for the item. Like, this wasn't the first person I picked, I don't think. No. On each item, this variable value and this will have proper value. Yeah. So your fulfillers will know who that is requested for. Right. And if you currently use a requested for variable that is a reference, you should be able to switch it out. I know at my work, we use requested for variable on almost every item. Yes, we do. So we'll be able to just switch it out, and that'll be awesome. As long as it acts like a reference for script stuff, because we, customize our approvals based on that particular variable. But that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I can, well, I'm pretty sure it works like a reference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a reference.
We'll have a play with it and maybe do some hashtag content in the future.
But I am really excited about this one feature. I didn't know I wanted this feature, and then I saw it. Thank you, Jenny Hu, for making the post about it that I read on, that I rewrote about because I thought it was worth writing again.
Yeah.
The other things that I have are kind of small. So now experience, that doesn't release with the release. It does, the timing of it, but it's not actually timed to the instance, right?
Yeah.
So they can release those whenever they want. It sounds like it'll be out like a month from now with those new components. And I think that's all that's coming out from the notes that
so
I have.
I mean, like Now Experience, there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that you can talk about it as a thing. Like there's the CLI, there's the NPM repositories for the components, there's Workspace Builder, and there's all that sort of stuff. And yeah, like there wasn't too much in the documentation saying, oh, look, we've added all of this new client-side stuff for ServiceNow. It's more, when we release some stuff to, say, NPM as new stuff, then we'll let you know.
Right. And that's great. That means that it can release more or less often, depending on what's done.
Yeah.
It just makes it harder to track with the releases. Like, oh, when did the widget or when did whatever come out? It's like, oh, I don't know.
As a handy little tip,
it isn't tied to a family.
I noticed that the subscription on the docs pages has actually started working recently. So if you are interested in something like that, go and subscribe to the page on docs. You'll get emails when it updates.
I wanted to show one more thing on my screen before I cut off the screen. Glide record got a new method. And I don't know, anytime glide record changes, I'm excited. Glide query was added. That was exciting. But I just want to show that this is a thing. It really isn't that big of a thing, but it's interesting. So they added a method called add value. And there wasn't a whole lot of notes on it when I first looked it up, or I didn't look in the right places maybe. Whatever, this is terrible. Don't do this. It doesn't even not show up. Oh wait, I have to probably tell it to go into one. But anyways, it's supposed to do an atomic addition, is what it reads like.
Next, maybe.
Yeah, I just didn't give up because it wasn't working.
It's far too early in the morning.
I mean, I agree. It's not even. I mean, that's the right method. I'm not sure why it's not autofilling. I didn't try it before. I just thought it would. So maybe it's not in there as a thing.
So what's the difference between ++ and .add value?
Right. So if multiple people are making changes to the same record, if you're using like, I don't know, updated, not updated. Say you had some other field like updated by some person, which you shouldn't do because there's other ways to do that. But let's just say for this point, that's what you're doing. If you are writing code or have business rules appending to that number, and I have stuff appending to that number, there is a chance that we're both going to do it, and it's going to take the last update and not actually update it for both of us. So the atomic update does it at a different level. It like just appends to the value. You don't have to like understand what the value was, and then it just adds to it.
Right. So it's a database operation more so than a server-side operation.
Right.
Yeah.
The other little things that I wanted to bring up, the only last thing was outage. If you're familiar with the outage table,
very familiar with the outage table.
Right. So that's kind of interesting.
Sorry, I think I might have spoken over you there. Did you want to just repeat?
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah. I mean, sure. The outage has a number column, which is fantastic. A long time.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, I added a number to the outage table," but I personally haven't really seen a need for it. But it's there now, so think that's a plugin. Hey, like we were joking about this. It's just a plugin that adds a number column to outage. And I also noticed in my PDI, at least, it didn't pre-number any of the old ones. They were all empty, and it was only new ones that started at number 1.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I know that we use outage to manage like actual outages.
Mm-hmm.
A better thing to do that with is major incident management. If you haven't looked into it, that's a way better way to manage those things.
But major incident has a button that says create outage.
It does.
Yeah.
And those outages are tied to other things too, like the availability plugins,
Mm-hmm.
which are really nice as well. But that's all I really got. Pass it over to
all
you.
Right. No worries. Well, I will jump over to my share and I will zoom in. Awesome. So I wanted to jump through a few quick things as well. I've got this page over here, which is the Paris release plugin changes. Where was I? Yeah, so this particular line here, if you can see it, was something that I certainly drew my attention.
Are you sharing? Oh, you're sharing. Yeah. I just don't see that.
So it says that this will be replaced. So this is the help to help desk, which everyone has probably heard of but never used.
I've used it. It is the poor man's discovery. It's
Right.
really good in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So we've got Discovery running, it does that sort of stuff. But this replaced by Agent Client Collector means that ServiceNow, which has traditionally been a clientless discovery thing, may be heading towards a client that you can install on computers and servers, and then those clients could report back to the instance, which, I mean, I don't think they're ever going to say we're not clientless, but it gives you more options, which is pretty cool. Having a Windows SOE with that installed and server snapshots with that installed will mean that as soon as a server comes online, even if it's in a IP address range that you're not discovering, it should appear in ServiceNow with all of its correct details, which is awesome.
I would love that right now.
Yeah.
I've been head deep in discovery troubleshooting.
Yeah.
And between getting Active Directory and firewall rules and everything to communicate properly, I would love if the computers could just tell me that they're there.
Yeah. And if you said to your security team, all we need is for the server to be able to talk to the mid or to ServiceNow itself, they'd probably be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Just no inbounds, thanks. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. So that was something that I wanted to point out. The next thing that I heard about and was pretty keen for was the script debugger. It's got a new console. Now, when I first heard, someone was like, oh, script debugger's got a console now. My wish list, like my brain was like, right, I want to be able to open the script debugger at any point and just start typing, sort of like a background script. And, Chrome console, that sort of stuff. You can manipulate the DOM of the page you're on. Script debugger, you should be able to see server-side stuff. Yeah, it's not 100% like that. It works similar though. So if we go and we create an incident, so I've whipped up a basic business rule with a couple breakpoints whenever an incident's created. So we'll just, I think I've got you in here. Look at that. We submit that. And yeah, so now we're in the session debugger. We've got a breakpoint, it's broken, and we have access to the console. So from here, you can, call your standard stuff and you can actually see the return. Chuck's just made a joke about Breakpoint being his new podcast, so hashtag subscribe to that one. But the cool thing about this console is, say you've got something running, you can actually and I'm calling it GR for all of our friends who love using those generic variable names.
Right. So once you're in it, you get a REPL response.
Yeah, and it's like running live. And so you can see I've gone and picked up a new incident. Is it short description or is it just description? Right. Yeah. So, like, I think that's pretty cool. Like, it's not perfect. And I actually spoke to the product manager about this on a different meeting thing that I had. And I said, look, I just want it to be sort of background scripty. And he's like, oh, okay, we'll look into it. So that means it's never going to happen. But
this I wouldn't say never going to happen. I would say it goes into a hole that they might never look into.
Yeah. Like Jace's inbox.
Like Jason's inbox.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. I think it definitely adds a lot of value. If you're troubleshooting stuff and you don't, like, obviously your breakpoints are there, but if you're halfway through a script and you're like, oh, what if I did this? You don't have to go back, edit your script to change your breakpoints. You can just sort of say, look, what if I went current.number +1?
Does Shift Enter break you down on a separate line there? Like if you want to do like
yes, it does
2 entries.
So
that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what I do to test that right now, but
if you want to do 2 operations in a single thing. But
yeah, you're good. Yeah. So that's
does
pretty
that
cool.
Repeat? Does that circle icon, like that repeat icon, actually repeat that thing on the right?
It below just
the.
All right, let's.
There's clear expressions, but when you had expressions typed in on the right-hand side of the expression.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. I didn't notice that before.
So you could step through to the next breakpoint and then re-execute, and it might be something different.
It might be really nice to get scripted syntax macros working in here too. I doubt that they're. But.
Yeah, so that's something new in the script debugger there that I was kind of keen for. What was next? I have. We'll leave that one for a second. The upgrade center is also something that is new and pretty cool, especially for people who haven't done a whole bunch of upgrading, instance management, newer admins and devs and stuff. So they've changed upgrade monitor page. Let me hide that. So it's a bit more of a responsive dashboard sort of thing. Some cool stuff that I noticed is it actually tells you the previous version. It has some nicer graphs, skipped records. You can actually review, like, it sort of lays things out a bit better if you ask me. Skip records by product is pretty cool. So you can say this is ITOM, this is ITSM, this is other stuff. If you have a lot of products, that would be super awesome. There's ATF integration into this as well. So if you've upgraded and you've run your tests, it hasn't worked. Obviously, it'll tell you. I don't have any ATFs in my PDI, but that's pretty cool. And then you've got your standard sort of fixed script duration and stuff down the bottom. It's not really
that I noticed.
Yeah.
You should check out is the VTB board. I want to see what that looks like.
Right. So that's this button here
that says skipped record VTB. You're supposed to be able to manage the skipped records somehow with the virtual task board.
Well, let's have a look.
I'm kind of interested because virtual task board is like this weird thing, I think, that ServiceNow has that they're managing until they make a new version of it.
Yeah, right. So this is the board here that's your skipped record, which also I think has a new number. I think that's newish. That's curious. Old resolution details based on maybe previous upgrades. I noticed you can change the priority on this stuff. I mean, you might have been able to previously, but I don't think they made it that obvious. And yeah, you've got not reviewed, reviewed, and merged, like your standard stuff. So if you're looking through and you click one of these and you think, right, I know what's the go, you can just sort of drag it over. Yeah, I've reviewed that. I've reviewed and retained. And you can assign stuff to people. Like if you got enough skips that you need to have a team working on it, throw names and stuff, maybe have a team leader do that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's nice that they have it working with the virtual task board.
Yeah.
I don't know that was possible before. Maybe it was, and nobody just ever thought they couldn't use it. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
But, look at the list. When there's like 1,000 skips to review, it's like, oh man, I remember when I was working for a travel company, we'd be like, all right, you take these 300 about notifications. Jace, you take these ones about REST APIs. I'll take the ones about business rules and script includes.
Yeah.
Oh, Andrew Barnes is in chat that they, because they're capturing updates, it's now. That's why you can use them on the virtual task board. So that's fantastic. I love it.
The capture. Oh, awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. Because that's something we've always missed. Like you do your upgrade stuff, you capture the changes in the update set, but not your actual what you've decided to do or why, and you sort of have to export that. And yeah. So the next cool thing with the Upgrade Center is this upgrade preview. I think this is probably one of the more exciting things. The ability to say, I've got an instance, it's currently Paris patch 0 hotfix 1. I want to go to, I don't know, whatever the next version is, patch 2. And you hit go. I'm assuming like this is brand new, and I don't think anyone can actually do it at the moment because there isn't a future version of Paris right now. But as soon as there is, you can see all of your skips and maybe ATF results of the new instance version without actually upgrading your instance, which is pretty massive.
It'll be exciting to see this.
Yeah.
I know that at my current work, it's always like a 3-month process to upgrade. And the first thing is like, how long is the upgrade going to take? And it used to take a lot longer.
Yeah.
But the ServiceNow changed it so things are upgrading multiple things at a time, I guess. And so it's improved a lot. But it still can take, 5 or 6 hours. And during that upgrade time, the instance does not work the way it should.
I think we have very different instances. At my work, it takes maybe an hour. And I have 30 or 40 skips because I don't do my job, I've been told. That's why. But yeah,
I want your instance. Can we trade instances?
No.
Well, I tried.
Yeah. So other than that, your upgrade history is fairly standard. You've got a few properties. You can change the VTB labels, which I think you love.
I don't necessarily love them, but I love the old labels, and I don't like how they got broken.
Yeah. But. So yeah, that's Upgrade Center. Pretty cool. The next thing that I have on my list of things to talk about is Process Automation Designer, or PAD as I've started calling it, because that's a bit of a mouthful. This is something that
everything is acronyms.
Yeah, of course. I've been to a couple of these Paris webinar talk things. Everyone sort of said, it's like the story, the playbook experience, or whatever it's called. You set up some rules, you have a few things happen, and they've sort of glossed over it and said this is a new thing. I've seen maybe a screenshot of this page that I'm showing at the moment, which is, you have some things to do. This is one I set up last night. I want to reiterate that this is actually really powerful. I kind of got it when I was using it last night. It doesn't work in my instance for whatever reason. I can't call flows or whatever. But how did I put it? I had a really good sort of. It's sort of like an iceberg where you see the top little bit, and then below it, there's all of this administration stuff that we're going to have to learn. But the power that it gives you to I guess I'd say automate processes, which is sort of exactly what it's freaking called.
It's aptly named.
Yeah, you have situations. So this particular process that I've been looking at, like say you've got a service desk operator who is brand new. They've started a day ago. They've done their induction stuff. They've got a phone call and it says, my computer is not working, right? So as long as the trigger is hit, which in this case is a record create on incident where the category is hardware, right?
Are the triggers only like creates, updates, deletes, or are they also like the flow designer, like schedules and that jazz?
Mostly what I've seen is creates updates.
Okay.
It's like this is sort of your entry point to a process. So generally processes start at a create of a record, right?
Right.
So you have a user who's on Agent Workspace. This only really works in Agent Workspace. They log a ticket based on whatever, based on a hardware incident, which is what we've got here. And then the automation sort of starts, right? You can have all of these different activities. The activities are, let's see the list here. So common activities, create a task, instruction placeholders, which the user doesn't see.
So this is kind of like, these are instructions for the process. Like I want to make a note of this process.
What I've got as an example, you can configure the activities and say, look, you've logged a ticket. It's got this. We need to get the users. So in here, you'd say like, make sure you note the user's hardware, item, CI, and location, right? Or this is where it sort of gets more powerful. The user form action, which is what I was looking at, you can actually prompt the inputs to say, where is this person located? What is their computer name? And then those inputs become data dots for future activities. So this is where the like flow designer stuff happens, right? So if you prompt your agent to ask the caller on the phone, what is your CI, like what's your computer name? And they type it in and they find it in their related thing in one of these actions, then in the next step or whenever they hit save, whatever, you can call a flow. Now this is what didn't work for me. You can say add an activity, you can create a new activity that is an automated piece based on a flow which passes in that computer detail, right? And then that subflow or whatever it would be can go and do a whole bunch of stuff. It could get SCCM logs, it could reboot the machine, not that you'd probably want to do that, but it could go and do a whole bunch of all your flow designer stuff, REST calls, everything. And then you get an output from that, right? And the output can be passed into new automated activities. And these activities have, so this is the send an email one. You've got your data dots, which look familiar, and you've got activities that you've previously done, and the outputs of those previous activities, right? This kind of blew my mind. Like, you can have multiple flows based on conditions, user inputs, all this sort of stuff that your agents don't see. All they see is a form that says, what's the computer name, right? And they type that in and hit OK. And then all of this stuff happens in the background. And you could make a triggered flow when a record comes in, but it doesn't have that kind of user input stuff. And it doesn't have the... the agent focused, like they have to know that that automation is going to happen. Whereas if you have the right triggers and you have the right setup in here, like they don't have to know anything. They can just start, hit the button, and it'll ask the right questions and do all of the stuff.
That sounds great. I mean, like I know in catalog, in workflow, like you have to like give it all the information.
Yeah.
Ahead of time. Like if you don't give it the CI, it's not going to reset the password on
Yeah,
that account.
exactly.
Or if you don't give it the user account, like if you like, I want to reset a password, you can have your form ask you that question.
Yeah.
But maybe you're like 3/4 way down, like a troubleshooting dialogue or something.
Exactly.
Recovering a device. That could be really big. I mean, it looks really big. Chuck said he didn't have 2 episodes of Tech Now to cover it all in October and November.
Yeah.
Why does it gotta be so far out, Chuck?
Do it now. Yeah, so this is really cool. If you want to activate it, it's in plugins. There's like 8 different ones. Make sure you activate the ITSM one, otherwise you can't pick like task tables or something to start them on. Some caveats that I've found in this, it is obviously new. There's probably going to be bugs. I can't pick a flow to call things. I'm probably going to have to go and reactivate all my plugins or something like that. You can't trigger them on catalog stuff, which I think is fair because most of that is kind of automated the process of already. It's more... The example that I always go back to is the security incident stuff. Like when they brought the playbook experience into this, it was very, here's a security thing. You get a new security ticket. It's a spam email. Here's what the security analyst should do step by step by step in the workspace, right? And that's what this is for. It's for your end agents in Workspace taking calls, helping them not have to remember processes. It's prompting, it's doing things based on their inputs. Which I guess is another thing, like the playbook experience gets activated automatically. This is where you actually try and get it into your workspace. So
my understanding was that playbook experience is like the way to visualize these running contexts.
That's right. So those, like, each of these actions would probably show up in your playbook experience. But I couldn't get it working on an agent form. And I spent maybe an hour reading docs and playing with stuff last night. It's a beast. There's going to be, a 2 or 3 hour now learning thing on it for sure to be able to get these to work. Yeah, it's just like, it's not something that I could do. Like, I've added the little book here, playbook experience. I had to go and manually add that. There's a million settings to it, and none of them really made sense. So I'm just going to leave it for now and say, look, there's a lot to it. But I think this is a great thing for especially maybe bigger organizations that have a lot of these processes defined already, but they have to teach them to people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see like bizarre password reset requests being entirely prompted instead of just like go to this item, go to that item. Yeah. Or recovering like devices or whatever. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So the next thing that sort of ties in with this, because if we have a look, is Flow Designer stuff. But you'll see that Flow Designer has actually been moved under a process automation heading. I think that's fairly new.
Flow Designer from the Fladvocates?
From the Fladvocates.
Color me shocked.
So, let's have a look at Flow Designer. There are a few things that I've noticed. One that I hadn't been told about before. There's a new trigger setting.
Those are exciting.
This created here. Whether or not you want to run a flow on the current and extended tables. Now, honestly, I have no idea what the old flow used to do. But now I can tell it what I want it to do, so that's a good thing. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is run with roles. So this is something that I have definitely had an issue with, right? Say you've made a flow and you've got Andrew Barnes has just said that it didn't run on extended tables previously, so now it can. So you can make a flow on task and have it run on everything. Probably not a good idea, but so run with roles, really awesome. You can have a flow run as a user who initiates it, but also have extended roles to allow that particular flow to do things that the user can't. So problems that I've had is specifically sending emails, right? End users aren't really allowed to send emails from ServiceNow. So if you have a inbound email flow that wants a reply email to the user who sent it in, it didn't work. It just errored out and said that user doesn't have permission to send an email. Now you can add, I don't know, whatever role it is that allows the user to send that email to the flow. And that doesn't give the user the role, it just gives the flow the permission to do the things that that role lets them do. So
I was going to ask, like, if you do that on a long running flow, like, say you just give them admin because you're lazy.
I tried
can they
that.
actually do admin-y stuff?
I don't think you can give them admin.
Or whatever, some other role to give them some elevated permissions.
Not 100% sure, but I would like to think no. Because, yeah, you can put waits on flows and stuff and wait for days and days. So you would really hope that you wouldn't just give the user those permissions for however long. So I guess that's something to test and have a play with. The next thing that also kind of, I had one of those, oh man, this is really cool moments last night, is multi-row variable sets in Flow. Now, my history with multi-row variable sets has been kind of sorted, as in I've tried them once and I had a whole bunch of problems and then I decided I'd never use them again.
That's my take on list collectors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not true. I use list collectors. I use multi-row variable sets. They're better than list collectors. I still don't like them either. But one is definitely better than the other.
Right. So in this case, like we've got a multi-row variable set here, and I've also snuck in a attachment variable, which is a new variable in Service Portal as well. So you can have multiple attachments that have specific requirements, like specific size, specific file type, whatever. And you can have like 2 or 3, and you say like attach your resume here, attach your cover letter here, attach a headshot over here, and you can have them. This is a doc, this is a PDF. Really cool. Multi-row variable sets, as I'm sure some of us have probably seen, let you add a number of things to a list. And, things like bulk user inductions and access requests for other things, maybe not multiple users, because that's solved by the requested for field that you demoed earlier, but
right, but previously that wasn't solved though. So,
no, it wasn't, and that might have been a case for this, but now that has been solved.
I know one thing we use those multi-row variable sets is for firewall rule requests.
Right. Yeah, so we've got that. We can order it. And what I've done here is I've taken a flow, fairly basic. It gets the catalog variables, which is now your multi-row variable. It's available in that get catalog variables, and it puts out one of the object array items, right? And that gives you the for each flow logic that you can step into. And for this one, perfect example, create a different catalog task for each of the entries in the multi-row variable set. So we can go.
Oh man, to do that in a workflow, you have to entirely script that. There's no way to do that in workflow easily.
Exactly. And this was sort of 5 minutes last night that I set this up.
Someday I'll get the flow designer.
Yeah. So something to be aware of here is obviously if we have our waits, so this is a task, wait for this task to be done. that means that the
Oh,
next
so this
one,
shows you the running flow, and then it shows you each row, and you can iterate
yeah,
over
you
the
can
rows.
step through them.
Nice.
But rows 2 and 3 here haven't been run because I've set a wait on that flow. On the task, sorry. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if you untick those waits, it'll generate them. That might be something that ServiceNow will have to think about, because if I was to use this, I'd want to say I want to wait till all the tasks are closed and not just the first one. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here. The next thing that I thought is really cool is the new action for logging a catalog item. And I think this is heading towards the replacement of order guides.
If you paired the requested for variable with the multi-row variable set, you totally could just replace the order guide.
Yeah.
Because you could just preload the variable set with like whatever things that they would need, whatever items that they would need.
Yeah.
As long as those items were simple.
You have a requested item which has the, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want that? You pass it into a flow with if statements saying, do you want this? Then yes, log a new item with that detail. So yeah.
Or the requested for, yeah, I like this. This is actually really good.
Yeah, and it's going to change a lot of stuff. The cool thing that I thought about last night is if you have a multi-row variable set with a submit catalog item request after it, and then you have the same item, you can add more multi-row variable sets, and you can submit more of the same item, and then about 15 seconds later, your instance crashes.
Inception.
Yeah.
I like it.
So
Inception in your instance.
So that's fun. Probably don't do that, kids. What else did I have in Flow Designer? They've changed all of the Flow APIs. Again, I think this is like the second or third time. I get why they do that sort of stuff, and I mean they maintain historical, like it will still work. So don't stress about going back and editing everything, but it's now...
What do you think about the new numbering on the flow stuff?
The new oh yeah, the new numbering. That was in my...
I saw it. I thought I saw it.
Yeah.
On the other, when you were... I have the stream up because you're not actually sharing the screen with me.
Right.
So my video of you is current, but my video of your screen is delayed.
Right. The new... when I first saw the new numbering, I thought, oh, I can see where they're coming from for the builders and the low-code people who aren't, they don't want to see 2.1.1. whatever. But for me, like, just saying number 4, other than talking to a person and getting like them to see the same point that I am, it's sort of not as easy. It also breaks all of your script stuff. Or it will continue to work, but if you update the flow after the upgrade, you have to rewrite your scripts, I think. So I think it was Chuck who said something like, if you've got a flow with a script in it and you upgrade to Paris, then you should probably copy that flow. And yeah, I wasn't in his webinar, but I heard some people talking about that. So that's interesting. Because see, all of these variables actually have the numbers. See, 3 catalog item task here, it shouldn't be 3. Well, it wasn't 3 previously, it was 2.1. And so that variable name has changed. The upgrade process will do its best to renumber to align with the new scheme, is what Chuck has said. So as we know, with all automated things, doing its best is, it's best. Yeah, so anyway, that's a little quality of life thing. The other quality of life thing is this amazing button, the duplicate action.
Oh yeah, I don't use Flow Designer, but I'm super excited to with this button.
Yeah. So if you have an if, an else, an
Workflows
else,
had copy activity forever though, so just saying.
yeah, and I'm
That's
sure
cool.
it has. Like, I've got nothing against workflow except that it's old and I hate it. Um,
Yeah, I hear you.
so the duplicate action, if you've filled in all of these inputs for a particular action and you want to do a similar thing but change one of them for a different, say, if else branch, you can just copy that and it will add a new one with exactly the same inputs below it, and you can just drag that off to wherever you want that item to be, and that is going to save hours and hours of time. If you have sort of been stuck in a flow and you're like, oh crap, I've messed up this if, I've messed this up, I need to go back and change something, yeah, it's going to be awesome. Again, just a quality of life thing, but that is a lot of life quality. Man, I'm just looking at the time and I think we're at an hour. I don't really have anywhere particular to be for another 15-20. How about you, Jace?
I don't either, but I realized I forgot to show self-registration on Portal.
Oh, right.
And we can also talk briefly about fancy HTML variables.
Ooh, yeah. Have you got an
You
example of
want to?
that?
I don't.
Okay.
I think we can just speak about it though.
Yeah, all right. Well, let me kill my share and we'll go back to, there we go. Let's have a chat, Jace.
Chat.
So what
Fancy variables.
Yeah, fancy variables. Forever and a day, having a catalog item, someone's like, oh, can we just make this bold? Can we just tell people in bold, only submit this if you aren't an idiot? Or something like, obviously not offensive, but people want things big, bright, red, flashing, tell the users they don't see, they don't understand. And so we've had to go and do stupid DOM manipulation or some kind of client script.
It's a web page, Jace. Can't you just make that image pop out?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I can. I just can't do it with the tool ServiceNow gives me easily. Like,
people don't
to
get it.
Do it the way you're supposed to in Service Portal is you make a macro variable, then you make a widget, and then you put your HTML code in the widget.
And we've all been there. We've all done it. But yeah, like this new variable type, I think it's called rich text label.
Yeah, I think that's the official name, rich text label variable.
Yeah, that lets you...
I haven't tried it out.
No, me either. But it lets you do more rich texty things. So specifically like big red letters, seriously, this will automate and do something like on a user exiting box or something. If you put the person's name in here and you hit submit, that person's account will be disabled.
Right.
That's
how
huge. I see it. Yeah. What else? We've got the standard ticket page, which I hadn't had anyone tell me about. So, we look at Service Portal changes and you see, oh, there's a new like right-click menu to inspect some stuff. You think, oh, okay, Service Portal's dead. But it's not. There's always new widgets. There's always new things that aren't sort of brought to the attention of everyone. And this is something that I found when I was playing with the multi-row variable sets. If you have a new instance, and now this was applied to my PDI, which has been upgraded since like Kingston or something automatically, so beware of that when you're upgrading. There's a new page called the standard ticket page. It's like ticket, but it's a bit more customizable based on what you're looking at. I might actually see if I've got a demo of that. Did you have anything else to talk about?
I don't think that necessarily I could talk about it. Let's talk about it. One of the other features that I want to talk about, I didn't prep, is the natural language query stuff.
Oh yeah, I've got a demo of that as well.
Oh, you have a demo of that?
Well, I've got it turned on in my instance, we'll put it that way. Let me jump back to my share.
Oh, sure.
So here is the standard ticket page. Now, the thing that stood out to me was we've got a new colored bar, we've got a RITM and some stuff up the top that looks a bit weird. I was like, what's the go? And so, you do your control right click and you see, oh, right, there's new
What's with the
stuff here.
coloring with the number and the faded? Like, why are those white in the background? And okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I don't know. And that's what jumped out to me. So you've got these tabs here, and these tabs are configurable based on the type of ticket and whether or not you've actually got anything, whether they show or not. So here you can see the variables, and they're kind of read-only, which is really nice. I haven't configured that. That looks a lot better than the standard ticket field did for request items or the SCRITM.
Yeah.
Right. So that's
it
amazing.
renders the multi-row variable set properly too.
Yeah. So I'm wondering
wonder-
how that looks
okay.
for record producers and that sort of stuff. Like if it gives you your additional details from record producers for end users, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that seems like a really big improvement. I can totally see my work going to this immediately after the release.
And so if we go back to here we go. So this is the NLQ stuff that we were talking about, right? You've got a new button in Workspace that's called Analytics Center. Now this has your KPIs and stuff, which may be linked back to the previous discussion you were having about KPIs. And if you turn on all of the plugins, you get this big ask a question about your data. Now this was, I don't know, shouted from the rooftops at the last ServiceNow forum thing I went to in Sydney 6 months ago. It's like, oh yeah, it's coming. It's here now. So we can say, P1 incidents in the last week. And we go ask.
I do know I've been told by Bar that you can totally set it up so it knows your business lingo, which makes this really powerful.
I've seen some demos of that as well. So if you call an incident something else, if you call it like I don't know, you can set up synonyms to say a whopper. Oh yeah. P1 whoppers in the last week. Or maybe you could say whoppers is P1 incidents. It's like, oh crap, show me all the fires in the last week. And then it will say, yeah, that's P1 and P2. Obviously, again, instance demo data, but you can see like this incident table and priority 1 created on last week. Like it's done some natural language stuff and actually come out and it understands what we're asking. Incidents logged by me.
I would love to see this get to the point where you can ask it do something instead of just give me a report of data.
Right. Like, so this is all query.
Send me an iPad.
That's what Virtual Agent is for. Have you ever set up Virtual Agent?
No.
Yeah. So Virtual Agent has natural language understanding, right? Which is more of the go and do things. My account's locked. Send me an iPad. I need a new computer. That is what Virtual Agent does. But
you have to do that individually, manually on each thing. I thought you had to like set up the processes. Like it was here's a very routed like thing.
You have to. So if you haven't done any of the natural language training and stuff, so that's Virtual Agent, where you say you have to teach it your intents. So send me is to like order an item, right? And then an iPad is an item type, and you could say if you get the intent of send me, then search the catalog for iPad, and that's all configurable. But yeah, like Virtual Agent is more along those lines. This is specifically for analytics, for data. Like I want to see incidents by category. Oh frick! Well, there you go. Incidents by category, right? And then, yeah, here's some suggestions. And yeah, that hasn't worked either. But, oh, there we go. So it can do stuff like
Interesting.
that. And yeah, again, I haven't played with this much. I've turned it on and had a look, but it's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll jump back to us again, and we shall continue our chat. Hello.
Well, I think the only thing I have left is that external user registration, which I
Right.
do want to show.
Okay, if you want to share that, I'll.
And that's all I have left. I don't have any other thoughts or things. Oh, I've been logged out.
Oh no.
So when I would turn this on, I couldn't find the plugin name, but I'm confident that the plugin name is definitely, the plugin is there to activate in the instance.
Yeah, I confirmed that just before we started. I searched on my PDI, which doesn't have it activated, and it is available.
Once you turn it on, you get this external user registration menu, which has these three things: user registration configurations, which lets you build the intake form so you can have multiple per portal. And then you dictate what those forms have. So I made one called Let the People In.
Yeah.
I'll just pull that one up so I can kind of walk through it here. And then I'll show what it looks like here. So in here, and at my work, we actually recently made one of these because we needed one. But now that ServiceNow has it, they're always a release too late for me, in my opinion, but whatever.
Yeah, always the bridesmaid.
You can enable CAPTCHA. You have to configure that with Google, which isn't a big deal to set up, but that could help with like getting
bots and
a bunch of submissions that are not good.
I think
link it to a terms and condition URL.
Travis has a whole bunch about public forms, and this would probably be something for him to look into.
Right. You can tell it what description you want. You can define a role that they get immediately. Now, these roles are limited. It's not all roles. The only role that comes up for me is SNC external.
Right.
I don't know the specifics with that. I'm sure there's a reason. I just haven't read it or found that reason yet.
You might be able to change the filter on that particular field or something like that.
Right. But then they have this thing here where you can like say, I want these fields. And I don't know. Yeah, so here they're only showing out of box. They only show these three. But you could ask other questions, you know, like maybe you want an intake form for, I don't know. You could ask whatever questions you want to ask and have this stuff loaded in. Once they verify, you have it trigger a flow to send a notification, and that notification has a link in it.
Is that a flow designer flow?
I'm pretty sure it's a flow designer flow.
Yes.
And it looks like it's a flow designer flow.
It's a subflow. Sounds like you might have
subflows, the better flows. Right?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Subflows, the more important, more usable flows.
Yeah.
Then it does this transformation bit. So when you build this and you save it, it makes a transformation. So what it actually does is it makes a record on the transformation table and transforms that into the target table. And I didn't really look into this. I'm guessing this must extend to user table, which is actually interesting and amazing, right?
Yeah, keep them
because
separate.
This is a standard transform map.
Right.
Let me look. So I had somebody make one. I don't want to dig, but at the same time, I want to dig. I want to look. Let me just look really quick. Let me just see what's on. Because, oh, sorry, I'll have to cut that out. But yeah, it totally is a self-registered user and does this table. What does this table extend? Yeah, so they must extend sys user, I'm guessing. Like, I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it totally extends sys user.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that is neat. That's a really good way to approach that. And then onboarding, I think this must actually create the user, I'm guessing. And you then in here, you can dictate these things.
Sure. So can you show us the actual form and how it looks?
Yeah. So on the portal record, there's a new field where you can say this uses this user registration configuration. Oh, I have to log in or go in. So when you do that, it gives you a button here to register.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is your form.
This is the form. And then this just is a link to that terms and conditions, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah,
awesome.
That's all I got for this.
All right. Well, if you want to drop out of your share,
I am dropping out of the share. It's
awesome.
dropped.
So I think that was pretty great. We've gone a little bit over time, but you know, what's a stream without going over time?
Yeah. Cool. I appreciate you setting this up, Andrew.
No worries. I appreciate you being here.
Is there any questions from the chat that
the peanut outside? Gallery? Anything? Questions? Yeah, no,
thanks everybody for coming.
I'm very excited about Paris, and you'll probably see more content from both of us in the coming days and weeks.
Right.
Awesome. Well, that's it. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later.
Have a good one. See ya.
Oh, gotta hit the button to end. Oh. There we go.